Welcome, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. Guys, I'm on an alternative recording platform because my other one has decided it doesn't want to work anymore. I'm having terrible problems with the older laptop as well. But we're always committed to bringing you all the latest news here on the channel, no matter what. Obviously, bringing you everything to do with the club, no matter what we're accused of, no matter what jealous others may say or may not say. And I had some interesting reports this morning from people emailing me and telling me about things that are going on allegedly in my name. And you know what? I'm not going to dignify it with a response. Really not. Just to say, grow the fuck up. Right. Okay. Look, David McCallum, current acting academy director, obviously has got previous experience with the club. Did temporarily manage the first team after the departure of Stephen Gerrard before the appointment of Gio Van Bronckhorst. Also was head of the professional phase and also B team coach for a number of years. Came to Rangers from Queen's Park. Well, Kevin Thelwell is expected to announce his appointment as the permanent head of academy, replacing obviously Zeb Jacobs, who departed to go to Feyenoord last year, and obviously Zorab Almiron, who also left as well. McCallum has really impressed Thelwell with his work at the academy as he was acting head of the academy. He is a guy who obviously Scottish coach, understands Rangers, understands what it is to play for Rangers, understands the system, understands Scottish football, has a good background within the game. And it's felt that this guy can obviously bring that understanding and bring that level of, that level of coaching ability to these young players. Now, obviously, he has a exceptionally vital role to play over the coming years. Now, I think it's quite clear that Rangers are not going to, as a club, go out and splash vast sums of money on players. That is just not financially financially responsible, and it is also not within the club's bounds at this moment in time, or perhaps ever. So therefore it is, I think, the intention of the club to kind of try and get a conveyor belt of young players coming through, something we have, well, let's face it, failed abysmally at over the last few years. And look, that's not just down to the players. I think that's also down to the head coaches that we've had, the managers that we've had, for their refusal to use those young players. And yeah, you may argue that there's not many of them being good enough. And look, yeah, I'd agree. There's a few of them that haven't been good enough. And, the ones that we've had in recent times perhaps haven't been the best. Ross McCausland, obviously the one that's broken through, was played. And, Rossi is a decent young footballer. He's not a top class footballer. He's not a world class footballer. He's not a professional. He's not a international class footballer. He's a decent footballer, and I think in another team, maybe Dundee United, he'd look very, very good. But I think he's just not perhaps suited to Rangers. And look, I love Wee Ross. I think he's a Rangers man through and through. We know that he is. But David McCallum, when he comes in, obviously on a permanent basis now, has a massive challenge ahead of him, and that challenge is to make sure that we bring through young players. He needs to prepare them. He needs to make sure that they're ready to take that step up, and the step up between playing youth football and playing men's first team professional football is huge. I saw a young player interviewed. He was a guy who'd obviously been signed by a championship club, and he'd been signed from a Premier League academy, and he was put into the first team straight away. And he was asked what the difference is between playing first team football and between playing first team football and playing professional football, obviously men's first team football. And he said that basically the speed, the intensity, the aggression is just on another level compared to youth football. And it's that step up between those two levels that we've got to get our players to. And McCallum has got a massive, massive job over the next few years to sort that out and to get over that, because Rangers do need young players coming through. Rangers need young players to break through and to then develop, and then obviously we need them to enter the trading model and obviously make us a large amount of money in the future. Now, obviously, Nathan Patterson was one who came through, made us a lot of money. Billy Gilmore. But look, in recent times, that just hasn't happened. A lot of our young players have either been released, like Cole McKinnon, who I had massive hopes for. He was. Robbie Fraser hasn't really made the step up either, despite being B team captain and looking very good, when he has played for the first team. There's expectations this season, and I think it's a make or break year for Bailey Rice and Finlay Curtis. I don't think Bailey and Finlay got a fair crack at the whip at all under Barry Ferguson. I think, Philippe Clement was kind of forced to use them due to the injury crisis that we went through. And I think, both of them came on against Manchester United at Old Trafford in the Europa League and impressed and did well. And haven't never let the club down. And I really hope that the new manager, Russell Martin, will give these young players their opportunities. Give Bailey his opportunity to play. Bailey is got the potential to be an outstanding six, I think Scotch six as well. And widely regarded as one of the most promising young players in his position. As a left winger, right winger, can also play up front as well. And I certainly hope that both of them will have that opportunity. And I think there's more youngsters within the academy at the moment that are itching for the opportunity to play. Mason Munn, the goalkeeper, for example, Paul Uncio, the midfielder of, both players in Uncio and Munn who've actually been looked at by Premier League clubs. So McCallum has his work cut out, and Rangers do have a massive issue with their youth. And we've never ever really been able to bring through a whole host of youth players that have made a huge difference, and we need to start doing that. And it is absolutely vital, I think, this season and in seasons to come that happens, that something is put in place so that there is that bridge between that academy status and then playing first team football. These players get an opportunity on the bench and they get an opportunity in games to come on and play. And I think you'd find that the likes of Bailey Rice, Paul Uncio, Finlay Curtis, would actually probably give you a lot more than some of the other players that we've already got, because these are guys that have, that have come through the Rangers system, that are, in sort of invigorated and imbibed with that whole Rangers belief in them. And a lot of them are Rangers fans as well. And, they come through and I think they probably give more and show more heart and more desire and more fight than a lot of the first teamers. So, look, I think, we do need to obviously look at that. And McCallum obviously now has to not only develop those players, but be a massive advocate for them, with the new management team, with the sporting director, to say, right, look, these kids are ready. Give them their chance. Let them come on. Let them play 15, 20 minutes. I'm not saying, look, start Bailey Rice or Finlay Curtis or Paul Uncio or Mason Munn in Panathinaikos games, or against Celtic or against Aberdeen or against Hearts. But, what is wrong with perhaps putting them on 15, 20 minutes against the likes of Livingston, the likes of Dundee, the likes of of those lesser teams in the SPL, the ones that are not, decent football teams, give them their chance. I'm sure that they would not let you down. And how are we ever meant to judge if these kids are good enough if you don't see them playing first team football? You're never going to make that judgment. And a lot of the youngsters who've been released over time, the Websters, the Macmillans, the Grants, have they had a fair crack at the whip? Have they had the opportunity to actually play and actually show whether they're good enough? I would say not. So I really hope that this season that Rice and Curtis break through, and Uncio and Munn. But I also hope by the same thing that McCallum isn't not only a good leader of the academy who develops good young footballers, but he's also an advocate for them with the first team, with Russell Martin, with Kevin Thelwell, with Dan Purdy, saying, look, we don't need to go and sign this player because we've got this player. Give him his chance. Let him play. Youth is a key, and we've seen, a lot of Premier League teams using young players to great effect. Manchester City, Rico Lewis, O'Reilly, another lad who's come through. Manchester City, Phil Foden. All young players who've come through and impressed for Manchester City at the highest level, including Champions League. Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Curtis Jones. Players who've come through their system and impressed. Kobe Mainoo at Manchester United. There's a number of young lads in that Premier League who are playing for top Premier League clubs and playing at the top level. Now, surely we can copy that, and surely we can bring through those young players. We need to start doing it. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you later. We are the people.